It's funny when there's a podcast that like a lot of people are asking for a while, and I finally, do it for my audience, I can always watch yours because you've always done it, to kind of derive some good questions or some good content and guide the conversation. So I appreciate that. The next on the list I would say is Indigo Protocol. I did a podcast with Dwayne and then the founder of Indigo, and I must say I was really impressed. And they're following the liquid path of fair token launch. It's being self-funded. They're obviously looking for catalyst funds as well. But the idea of synthetic assets is really interesting to me. I don't know how it's going to play out. I know that essentially the way it works is you have to put 150% of ADA into a smart contract, and then you're going to get the synthetic token minted from that, and then you're also going to earn a yield for providing that initial 150% in there on the ADA. And it's just such an interesting concept to me because we always talk about inoperability, and we talk about Milko Meta and these bridges, and when you use Milko Meta, you think, oh, this is it. People are just going to use these bridges between chains and move these tokens over. But there's a lot of risk in a lot of these bridges. So it's like, I almost wonder if that is the alternate solution there, the synthetic assets. This idea of you have enough liquidity in there to account for these synthetic assets. So then you don't have the risk of the bridge, right? So then it really becomes of what's higher risk, right? The volatility of the underlying assets or the smart contract risk from the bridges, so that's one that I'm pretty excited for as well.
Yeah, I like Indigo as well. I had Eric on there a while ago, and they're doing a lot. Really have to admire the way they're building it and how they went about their funding and everything like that. And the private testnet went live this week, I think, just 2 days before we're recording this. And they're set to launch later this year as well after the hard fork. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Synthetics, I think, has a lot of potential in use cases and everything they can be used for. Synthetics have struggled a bit on other chains, so it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But it's definitely a project I'll be rooting for as well, and trying out some of the use cases they have, because like with Cardano or Liquid or the multiple yield opportunities you can get there, you can get similar with synthetics as well, in that you can take out, there is similarities to taking out a loan in that you over collateralize the asset you're taking. But again, you can do that and then you can still use that asset somewhere else as well. And I've seen diagrams of multiple different levels that can be done. Obviously, these all bring extra risk into the party as well. But lots of possibilities that I'm looking forward to exploring.
Yeah, it's really exciting. One thing that's awesome about crypto is that it's pushing finance forward and it's making it accessible, right? Especially with Cardano, because the fees are actually reasonable. I can say, hey, Dad, go provide liquidity on MinSwap. Try this out. And, he has, and on Ethereum, I can't say, oh, okay, go on there, make your ETH WETH for a fee. Okay, now provide the liquidity for a $20 or $30 fee. And then now, okay, farm the LP tokens with the $30 fee as well. So it's so cool because we're seeing the accessibility that's there, also with, what crypto is doing in general, and it's, trying out new financial applications. And I got to say, I'm so excited to see all of this stuff play out, because there is risk in Indigo and, collateralized synthetic assets. And, sometimes it may not work. There may be a time, a Terra-like event for some of these protocols that are coming. And that's a good thing, because all of these mistakes are building up over time. And I said a lot of good stuff about MinSwap. There was a vulnerability in MinSwap's contracts found by wing riders, right? So in putting any ADA in any smart contract, because everything is so new, there is risk there. Anytime you're taking the ADA and taking it out of your wallet, you are adopting more risk. And that's kind of what's beautiful about ADA staking, is the fact that, it stays in your wallet. There's no added risk for the yield that you're earning. But yeah, I'm happy to see really all of this start to play out. Are there any projects that you're excited for that we didn't cover in this? Probably a few.
Just on that, while it's in my head, just when we're talking about education and the risks and stuff like that, and I think it is important to always highlight that. Sometimes people have the perception that anything built on top of Cardano is going to be secure and safe because Cardano is secure, and they think that any smart contracts, but individual developers build these smart contracts that go on top. So just because it's Haskell and Plutus and we have a secure environment on Cardano, nothing is ever 100%. So anytime you get involved with smart contracts on any chain, Cardano included in that, you have to weigh up the risk to reward. Me personally, I would never go all in on any individual platform or smart contract or anything like that. I always divide up my portfolio into certain percentages and what I'm willing to essentially risk versus the reward you can potentially get back on it. But sorry, just on a tangent there when we are talking.
No, I honestly want to touch on it a little bit more, because that stems from this idea of Cardano being, written in a formal language in Haskell. And, we were kind of sold on the idea that Cardano is more secure and the contracts are more secure, which it's still going to play out, which will probably be true. However, that doesn't mean they're 100% secure. And, even the min swap contracts where the vulnerability was found, that was even audited by one of the, I think it starts with a T, I forget the name, but one of the
Tweed
most wide.
done that one. Was it Tweed?
It was
I'll
Tweed.
double check that. If I'm wrong, I'll put a notice on the screen.
Yeah, we'll double check it just in case, but I can almost guarantee it was Tweak. So, you have one of the best auditors in the space doing the audit for MinSwap, and the vulnerability was still found. So, that shows you that when we're building new contracts in a new language and with new developers that don't have 5 years of experience, that, there will be issues. Cardano is meant to be a, blockchain that stands the test of time. And within that, it's going to take years for proper tooling to be built up, proper auditing. It's going to take years for even these auditors to build up the ability to, perfectly audit these, smart contracts designed specifically for Cardano. So, it's not really anything negative about Cardano. There's just added risk in using the contracts itself. Whereas staking to, Paul's Stakepool here, there's no added risk there. So I wouldn't put all mine in there either. I would just play around with a little bit and see how, these different protocols interact.